Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo, this is the Mundane Matt channel, and Star Trek Discovery came out a couple weeks ago, and it's been very divisive amongst fans. Some like its new fresh take on the Prime timeline, others think it's absolute utter garbage. And you can find out what I think every week over on 3 Buck Theater, where I review every episode. So there's that. So that's shilling aside. The show, again, hugely divisive. Just this last week, they dropped the F-bomb not once, but 3 times, which made me really question what kind of show I was watching. And now I'm even questioning whether or not one of the key scientific components of the show, one of the plot points of the episodes thus far, is blatant plagiarism. And that's what's going on right now. So yeah, there's that. So if you don't follow the show, and I totally understand, there's a big part to do with basically a new type of warp drive. Although, well, more teleportation, I guess, would be the best way to describe it, using spores and tardigrades. Now, tardigrades have been a species, like a microanimal, that was discovered back in 1773, and it's the key focus here for the science, is that they find this huge big tardigrade, and they're able to use that to plug in the coordinates that they want to get to, and instantaneously transport themselves there, but it does have an effect on the tardigrade itself. In fact, this whole last episode dealt with that, and what I would feel is very much like a Star Trek way of kind of discussing whether or not they can hurt something versus do they have the right to do it, things along those natures, you know, those kind of questions that were asked in this franchise. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the plagiarism, where's that coming from? Well, over on Steam, there's a game called Tardigrades, which was released originally on November 21st, 2014, and looking at some of the trailers, it very much feels like old school Sierra, like old school Scum Engine, Escape from Monkey Island, Fate of Atlantis, the Maniac Mansion type stuff. So for me, it has me hitting all the feels, and I really want to check this out as a result of this. But you might be asking yourself, why is Tardigrades a point of interest here? Well, for one, if you've seen Star Trek and you saw the tardigrade, and then you look at this tardigrade right here, they look really similar, don't they? I mean, they look super similar, and they're both in space, and they're both floating out there, and they're both giant tardigrades. Tardigrades are a microanimal, as I said, so them being large and blue simultaneously does feel a little bit off. In fact, the developer himself even commented on this with a blog post titled Star Trek Discovery and Tardigrades, saying, "I've been approached lately by some of my fans via Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and the AGS forums about several similarities between the new series Star Trek Discovery and my point-and-click adventure game Tardigrades. I honestly don't know how to begin with this article, so I'm prepared a few screenshots from both the TV show and my game for comparison. I'm doing this to clarify that I haven't stolen ideas from the show at all, since all of my posts are from the devlog are dated years before the show. Tardigrade's production announcement was on May 8th, 2014. The devlog can be found here. The game is about civilization that lived on Earth 20,000 years ago, and they are on the verge of intergalactic travel using giant tardigrades to travel anywhere in the universe. The main character, Carter, is a botanist whom we'll discover later in the game the connection between the super tough creature and the instantaneous space travel. I've made several promo videos that can be found on my YouTube channel that show my ideas of space travel using giant tardigrades." And you could see that early comparison there of Michael Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green's character, in the spore drive, so to speak. And then another character that would probably be Carter, also in some other form of drive, very similar looking. It's very interesting to think that a game that popped up in November of 2014 about giant space traveling tardigrades has become a central plot focus, complete with some very similar looking visuals on the 2017 show Star Trek Discovery. But it gets better. Again, you can see here from the original YouTube video, the tardigrade encompassing Carter and then traveling into space, and then also the end shot of the last episode of Star Trek Discovery, where their tardigrade ends up, using the spores and zipping off somewhere into the universe. That's a little bit too close for comfort in terms of plagiarism or a direct copy. It does feel like somebody on the Star Trek Discovery team has in fact played this particular game, or at least is aware of its existence. Or it's some random 1 in a billion chance that they just happen to come up with the same idea a couple years apart from one another. But the developer of Tardigrades goes on to compare the characters in his game with the characters that were used in Star Trek Discovery. And again, we're seeing some similarities here. On the right, you've got Michael Burnham, and on the left, you've got Yolanda, another main character in the show. And she is a lead character in the game, Yolanda, that is. Then down here, you've got Aziz and Makiek, whatever his name is. I think Ty is how he says it. They are a gay couple, and then on the show, you've got Dr. Hugh Culber and Paul Stamets, also gay characters on the show that look very similar in just their look and their design. This, again, on top of everything else we've seen in this blog post, does show some striking similarities. But the real question is, when did Star Trek Discovery go into production? If it happened to come into production before the release of this game, which, had been in development for a while, so we're talking like, he says May 8th, 2014. So we're looking at May 8th, 2014 as you want Star Trek Discovery to be announced prior to that. Jumping over to the Wikipedia page, you can see here that on November 2nd, 2015, CBS announced a new Star Trek television series to premiere in January 2017 on the heels of the original series' 50th anniversary in 2016. It's the first Star Trek series since Star Trek Enterprise concluded in 2005, and the first show to be developed specifically for CBS All Access on-demand service. Alex Kurtzman, co-writer of Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness, and Heather Cadine were set to executive produce the show, which was not related to the 2016 film Star Trek Beyond. The January 2017 date was the earliest that CBS could release a new Star Trek series after an agreement it made with the split with Viacom in 2005. So May 8th, 2014 is when Tardigrades is first announced. November 21st, 2014 is when it was first pushed onto Steam. And November 2nd, 2015 is when CBS All Access announced Star Trek Discovery. So almost a full year. All right. And so the people working on it originally were Brian Fuller, Alex Kurtzman, and a couple other people. And you have to really ask yourself, did anyone just come across this idea, either forget about it because it was, it's an odd concept, or did they look at the fact that this was a small point-and-click adventure game that had no press, no coverage, no one talking about it, and now they go, oh, well, we can just take this idea. No one's gonna know, right? It's not like you're doing a YouTube video where you kind of like plagiarize a top Reddit comment as a good point in your video. Not saying I've ever done that, just saying that I've probably done at least once or twice. But the point is that that's a totally different scenario. So looking at Star Trek Discovery, looking at Tardigrades, you can see there is a clear connection. And I feel bad that the developer of the game has to come out and say, I didn't steal this idea. Like, that's where his mind went first, is that he's going to be accused of stealing the Tardigrade system, when in fact he is the person who put it out there in that particular space first. In fact, Star Trek Discovery, at this point, they're the ones that are guilty of taking this concept. I'm not saying they plagiarized it. I don't know how the development process got there. When these kind of things happen, there are some times when you can look to see whether or not somebody has interest in something like that, and they've drawn comparisons. There's a great line too from Mad Men in the first season when you have the character named Pete. No one liked Pete. Pete was a jerk. But Pete was talking about learning a specific type of marketing. And then he says, well, they already came up with that idea, but I learned it on my own. I came to it on my own. And that does happen from time to time. I think everyone has had an idea that somebody else has also thought of, and then implemented it. And you've been like, I thought of it first, dang it. And it's not plagiarism because you never did anything with it. But this is not that kind of case. The director of this game, the developer of this game, put it out there a full year before Star Trek Discovery announced it was going to be made. And here we are, 4 episodes into Star Trek Discovery, or 5 really, and now we have almost a direct comparison, a direct copy of this little point-and-click game that does harken feels back to the old Sierra Scum engine. So, yeah, the real question is now, how is CBS going to respond? Hey guys, that wraps up this video. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do so below. I love to read your guys' input. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. If you want to support the channel, there's the Amazon affiliate store, there's PayPal, there's Patreon, there's Bitcoin. And if you're bored and you want something else to watch, check out 3 Buck Theater up here. My name is Matt Jarbo. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a wonderful day. Peace out.